The Fraternity of Order, also known as the governors and those who discover laws to find truth. Quote, "The planes are governed by laws. Laws can be learned. Learn the laws and you rule the multiverse. That is our goal." End quote. Humanity has laws. Sigel's got laws. Even the planes have laws. Once you know the laws, you can use them to your advantage. Break them without getting caught. If everything's got laws, then the whole multiverse must have laws, and those laws can be learned. Learn the laws of the planes, and you can use them to your advantage. Know how to break them, and then you have real power. You could find loopholes in the multiverse, manipulate basically anything, make magic look pathetic in comparison, and be more powerful than the gods themselves. Let the other factions run around trying to find the meaning of the multiverse. It doesn't matter what it means, because that won't explain how it all works, and knowing the operations of things is what's really important. Who cares what it means when you can do whatever you want? So how does someone find out all the laws of the multiverse? The answer is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Learn all that you can, so one day you can know all there is to know about how the multiverse works. There are millions of laws, and the more one knows, the more he can do. The Fraternity of Order's primary plane of influence is Mechanus. It makes sense a faction obsessed with learning everything would identify with the clockwork plane of pure law, where everything aspires to perfect order. Faction attire. Governors wear tall hats and matching robes, and are often assisted by small attendants, such as imps, mephits, and homunculi that carry their tomes for them. Role and sigil. The governors believe in laws and don't like breaking them, so they run the city courts acting as judges and advocates. They are purely lawful, to the point of seeming cold and legalistic, enforcing the law no matter what. It is important to note that they do not get to enact new laws, only enforce them. The governors know the laws and tell them to others, particularly the Harmonium and Mercy Killers. The Harmonium arrest individuals they believe are breaking the law. Then the fraternity holds trials for the alleged criminals, acting as the judges, prosecutors, defenders, and other legal staff. If they are convicted, the governors then hand them over to the Mercy Killers for punishment. Knowing so much about the laws gives the fraternity an advantage, since if they can get in legal trouble, they usually know a loophole to avoid conviction. Having a convenient law or precedent to suit every occasion allows the governors to get almost anything they want. In addition to adjudicating laws in the City of Doors, they also record basically everything, including known portal locations and keys. Allies and enemies. Their knowledge of laws makes them useful to many, especially the Mercy Killers and the Harmonium. The chaotic factions of the Chaositechs and the Revolutionary League oppose them, and the Dustmen remain suspicious that the governors are trying to prolong the lifespan of the multiverse. Eligibility. The Fraternity of Order is open to all races and classes, but because of its highly structured view of life, all members must be lawful. Most members tend to be wizards, since that class encourages research. A good amount are priests dedicated to a god of law, justice, or related portfolio. When it comes to race, most are humans and dwarves. Half-elves, tieflings, and Bariar tend to dislike strict rules and are rare within the faction, and Gitzurai are basically unknown. Benefits. The governor's incessant search for order in all things gives them a highly attuned sense of patterns, allowing them to cast comprehend languages once per day. At 7th level, faction members of any rank have gained enough knowledge of the universe, allowing them to cast Item once per day, regardless of class, lasting 24 hours. In case you're wondering, the Item spell shrinks an object to 1/12 its size, and it can also be turned into a cloth-like material if the caster wishes. It can be returned to normal either by throwing the object on a solid surface, or by the original caster saying a command word. Factotums of at least 5th level can manipulate probability. Once per day, the governor can gain a +1 bonus to an attack roll, damage roll, or saving throw, give himself a -1 bonus to a roll against a proficiency score or ability score, or inflict a -1 point or -5 percentage point penalty to an opponent's roll. This modifier improves 1 point or 5 percentage points per 3 levels. In order for a namer to advance to factotum, they must prove they understand a loophole in the laws of the multiverse by demonstrating an ability they have gained from said understanding. These loophole abilities vary widely depending on the character's personality. A warrior might learn how to draw an elemental fire briefly to turn his sword into a flame blade. A thief might understand how all shadows meet on the demiplane of shadow and be able to step into a shadow and teleport to another. These loophole abilities are difficult to learn, requiring the same amount of time and money a caster would spend learning a spell of a level that's power level is equal to the ability and has a % chance to successfully learn equal to their intelligence modifier plus their level. Every time the loophole ability is used after the first, there is a cumulative 10% chance the loophole in the laws of the multiverse closes, removing the ability to use it anymore. When this is rolled, there is a 5% chance the loophole closes catastrophically. A governor can only have one power per 5 levels at a time. In 5th edition, player characters do not gain benefits for joining factions, but each faction has a stat block for a typical member. For the governors, it is the Fraternity of Order Lawbender, which are described as, quote, magistrates who skirt the rules of probability in space, moving freely and manipulating the outcomes of actions around them, end quote. They can make 2 arcane burst attacks, which are basically beefed up Eldritch Blast, or use Power of Authority, which is an intelligence save that deals psychic damage and incapacitates them. I'm not exactly sure how this fits their flavor, but I think the idea is that they're overloading them with information about the millions of laws of the planes, almost like an Eldritch Knowledge kind of vibe. They can cast Dispel Magic, Fly, Mage Armor, Mage Hand, and Prestidigitation, which are pretty typical arcane spells. I guess they learned them from studying so much about the planes. As a bonus action, they can use Spatial Loophole, which allows them to teleport 30 feet, basically just a Misty Step. This represents a loophole in a multiversal law that they have learned, and they can use that loophole to teleport, similar to the example option for Thieves from 2nd edition. As a reaction, they can use Probability Loophole 3 times a day, forcing disadvantage or advantage on another creature's attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, similar to a Silvery Barb spell. Once again, this is just them using their knowledge of a multiversal loophole to affect those around them. It's very similar to the ability they got in 2nd edition at 5th level that allows them to manipulate probability. So far, this stat block seems pretty true to their original concept in 2nd edition. Restrictions. Governors believe in laws, whether they are right or wrong. A governor will not knowingly break a law unless they can find a legalistic loophole. Factal. The Factal of the Fraternity of Order is Hashkar, a male dwarf planar, 0-level sage. He has proficiency in every non-weapon and weapon proficiencies, although knowing how a sword works doesn't mean he's good at actually hitting things with it. In 5th edition, he uses the stat block for the Fraternity of Order Lawbender, which is challenge rating 9, significantly more powerful than a 0-level sage, but without all the proficiencies. At all times, Hashkar is usually reading or lecturing and is always seen carrying a tome or scroll. He is nice enough and inoffensive until someone talks to him, since he will speak endlessly, giving more details than one can stand. You see, asking him any question will result in him launching into a long and boring discourse about the history of the answer, a comparison of that answer with what the answer would have been under previous versions of the rules, and an analysis of the answer, the question, the reasons for asking the question, and why the answer is vitally important. Leaving before his laborious lecture is finished will cause the Factal to follow the Burk around, finishing his answer, oblivious to any signs they do not wish to continue listening to him. This pattern follows all questions, even ones as simple as, which way's the door? There's no such thing as a simple answer. Hashkar quickly rose through the ranks to Factal because of his knowledge alone. He knows many things from books, personal experiences, and tales from others, even things only adventurers would know despite his lack of adventuring experience. He has served as Factal for 127 years as of 2nd edition. In addition to the normal benefits that governors get, he wields 5 spell-like abilities due to him discovering loopholes in the laws of the multiverse. Those abilities are as follows. He can instantly find a gate to the negative energy plane within 60 feet, which he's used twice. He can travel forward in time, skipping as much as 10 minutes, which he's used once. He can summon up to 10 Monodrone Modrons to his aid instantly, and he's used this ability 3 times. And his other 2 abilities have never been used before, so they remain mysteries to everyone but Hashkar, including the Dungeon Master. The book just says to come up with your own. During the events of the faction war, Hashgar is murdered, but before that, people discover that he is actually a petitioner, the soul of someone who died and went to the afterlife. Hashgar wound up in Sigil as his afterlife, supposedly because he worshipped the Lady of Pain, which is strictly forbidden. By 5th edition, Hashgar is alive and once again the factyl of the Fraternity of Order, and just like every other factyl in 5th edition, there is no explanation given as to how or why this happened. Many governors have ambitions to become factyl, but none would usurp the post since it is against the rules. History. The Fraternity of Order became an organized group 982 years ago, as of the 2nd edition time period, establishing the rules for chartering a faction in Sigil. Eventually, the other factions followed suit. Because of this, the governors consider themselves to be the first faction. They record everything that happens to them, including everything discussed in their meetings down to the minute, and these records stay in vaults and mechanists forever. They also keep other reference material around, researching every known field in order to expand their knowledge and eventually come to unknown or unrealized laws and discoveries. They record these findings, organizing them by rules, which are man-made laws that govern how living beings should act. Laws, these are the laws of nature that can be created or altered only by gods, and axioms, ultimate truths of the multiverse that cannot be altered by anything. These discoveries create the overall history of the faction. After the faction war, they left Sigil and holed themselves up in the Fortress of Disciplined Enlightenment in Mechanus until they were allowed back in Sigil by the time of 5th edition. Hierarchy. Namers are called aides, and they perform mundane day-to-day tasks, such as file clerks, research assistants, and court recorders, and they serve factotums, or occasionally factors, as assistants. Every 100 days, or earlier if they fill out the correct form, an aide is subjected to a series of tests. Passing them makes the aide an administrator of A10 rank. Administrators are what the governors call their factotums. Low-ranking ones assist high-ups and occasionally take managerial tasks such as supervising shifters logs, which are accounts of how Sigil's various shifting portals are used and by who. Administrators of rank A5 to A1 have their own aides and usually stay at the headquarters in Sigil or Mechanus. They serve as attorneys or legal advisors within the court systems and sometimes go out in the field to conduct research missions. Administrators take a test every 100 days, and on a success, they advance to the next rank. An exceptional score gains them 2 ranks instead of 1. Administrators of A1 only advance to Factor if a vacant position is available. Factors within the Fraternity of Order are called Bureau Chiefs, starting at B5 and advancing up to B1. B5 and B4 Bureau Chiefs supervise lesser bureaus. Many are smaller parts of bigger bureaus, or they act as judges or functionaries of the Bureau of Courts. B3s and B2s supervise the ad hoc bureaus, such as the Bureau of Courts, which assigns faction members to court duties. Technically, the ad hoc bureaus are temporary, but many have existed for a century or more. The B1 Bureau Chiefs supervise the 5-star bureaus: record keeping, research, internal affairs, planar affairs, and prime affairs. If the position of factyl opens up, the B1 Bureau Chiefs vote one of their own to be the new factyl. If there's a tie, they extend the voting to Bureau Chiefs of all ranks. The vote counters then eliminate candidates with the lowest total votes until a clear winner emerges by plurality vote. Sigil Headquarters. The headquarters of the Fraternity of Order in Sigil are the City Courts. Located in the heart of the Ladies' Ward, it is an imposing 2-story white marble structure with a single tower rising an additional 3 stories on a granite foundation, although in 5th edition it is stated to have multiple towers. The neighborhood around it is kept orderly by the Harmonium. Taverns host people killing time before court appearances, and freelance advocates advertise their services outside. Even though the governors will provide a free court-appointed advocate from their faction in 2nd edition, in 5th edition this is not the case and you'll have to pay up for legal representation. The court has a set of great stairs that pass through marble pillars into the entrance. Here lies a promenade packed shoulder to shoulder with people. If you can push past them, you'll find a reception area where you pay fines for minor infractions. Serious offenses require trials, which take place in the Ward Court, held in various lesser courtrooms on every floor of the building and tower. Although in 5th edition, all the lesser courts are in a rear tower. The Grand Court is where the more serious cases are held, a room of shiny wood, gilt fixtures, and mosaics depicting justice. Each courtroom has a private chamber attached that acts as a meeting and study room for the judges and counsels of the cases. In addition to the Grand Court and the Ward Court, there is the Hall of Concordance. This is where contracts are forged in front of the inevitables, beings of pure law constructed by Primus to facilitate dealings with planar beings. The Collier Root, an engine of absolute order, inscribes contracts on golden plates which are placed inside inevitables called Maroots. If someone breaks one of these contracts, the Maroot will find them and banish them to a teleportation circle within the Hall of Concordance to face justice. If the terms or foundational truth of a contract come into question, the Collier Root sends a component part of itself, also called the Collier Root, out into the planes to find the truth. And that is everything I could find on the Fraternity of Order, the faction of Sigil. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe for more D&D related content.